I'm Colton, local fisherman out of Caribou Harbor. Highlight some issues we had with Northern Pulp's focus report. Section 7 of the report highlights fishing activity surrounding Caribou Harbor. It appeared that Northern Pulp tried to almost make it seem as if no fishing activity is going to happen close to the diffuser location. This is completely inaccurate. They've stated that it's not a herring spawning ground. Anyone who's fished herring knows that we've caught herring there. When we catch herring, we wait for the fish to go to the bottom. That's when they mesh in our nets, and that's when we can catch them. They're spawning. So it's a spawning ground all around the diffuser location. They've also stated that there's no lobster fishing within 2 kilometers of the diffuser location. They came to this conclusion by doing an aerial surveillance 3 days out of a 50-some day season. It's completely inaccurate. While we're fishing lobster, we're constantly moving gear, chasing the biomass. There's countless fishermen that fish directly around the diffuser location and along the proposed pipe route. Another thing they said, no rock crab fishing occurs below 10 meters of depth. This couldn't be more wrong. In the summer fishery, we're trying to get into the deep holes. That's where it's best. And then in the fall, we're up along the shallower waters where the proposed route is deemed to be. Another issue from a fishery standpoint is both the proposed route and the diffuser location is within a marine refuge. We have a 1 nautical mile scallop buffer zone. We don't drag scallops within this. It's meant so no damage is done to any marine ecosystems along the seafloor. Not only will the construction of this project, but the operation of this project, along with what's going to come out with it, will definitely have detrimental impacts to the marine ecosystems around it. Also, something we highlighted in a previous submission was the extensive ice along the proposed route, where they're talking about putting this pipe along the channel. Not only do we fish there, but we live here, we observe what goes on. There's an extensive amount of ice that piles up in these shallow waters. The water's shallow to 3 feet in places. We attached pictures of this in the previous submission. Since then, in this report, Northern Pulp has hired consultants to have a look at this, and the results are crazy. There's 133 ice gouges directly along the proposed route. If you go and look at the pictures in the report, these ice gouges, which is the keel of an iceberg scraping the seafloor, are directly going along the path of where the pipe will be. Another finding of the geotech report was that there was an extensive area, 7,000 square meters, where there was ice that had actually, ice mass had accumulated and dug into the seafloor, something like 0.7 meters. This would be another bad thing, because one thing, an ice gouge hitting the pipe, it damages the pipe, it leaks, direct impact. But with ice mass this big, there's going to be such severe forces. The ice doesn't have to be as deep as the pipe. It can be transferred through the soil to the pipe and lead to a fatigue stress in the pipe from the cyclical loading. If this was to happen, it would be detrimental to the fishery. So you start thinking about this and you say, okay, so this ice can gouge through this pipe. What happens if it breaks? Well, how are we going to know? There's no detection program whatsoever for any of the marine portion of the pipe. So we're not going to know it's leaking. Okay, that's one thing. Now, where's it leaking? It's leaking in 3 feet of water with a harbor with very poor flushing capabilities. In the receiving water study, they did some tidal data, but they didn't do anything site-specific. And us as fishermen, we know what the tides do. When you get a prevailing north wind, sometimes we can have a high tide that holds for 3/4 of your tide cycle with very little elevation changes to the low tide. So this effluent is going to become a resident of the Caribou Harbor. And also, everyone's talking about jobs. You don't need to look far. North Nova Seafoods is right there within this harbor. And I think at the height of their employment this summer, they had something like 140 people hired at their plant. If he doesn't have clean water, he can't operate. At the end of the day, our government officials said that they were going to base their decision on science, and looking at the science in this report and the lack thereof, there's no way that they can go ahead with this project. Thank you.